ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. It is Thursday night at 6 p.m., which all of you very well know by now is time for another episode of Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. First off, want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you listeners tuning in. Christmas this Saturday, a lot of football to come. So joining us tonight here on the show, of course, in the bottom right corner is my counterpart, Duffy. But then in the top left and right corner, you got Nick Carlson and Zach Drapo, members of Fans Only Sports Network. Guys, how are we all doing tonight?
What's going on, man? Merry Christmas to everybody out there, too.
Doing pretty good. Happy to be here. Merry Christmas, guys.
Great to have Zach and Nick on the show with us tonight. I'm excited for this one. Nice to see you again. Once again, Chet, as we usually do on Thursdays.
Oh, yeah.
Merry Christmas to everyone and happy holidays to anyone else who has to celebrate Christmas. It's always a fun time this time of year.
Absolutely.
Up, presents are being bought, mad units are being spent, but we're going to have a good time.
We are going to have a good time. And starting right out of the gate, a special gift to all of you is a special segment that we have just created called It's Not What It May Seem. So last week in week 15, there were quite a few games out there that seemed like sure locks, but then resulted in kind of a little bit of a disarray in these games for either side. So we're going to start out and go to our special guest this week. We're going to start with Zach Drapo here. And Zach, what do you got for us for one of those games that it really wasn't what it seemed?
All right, so my pick for the game I thought was most surprising, probably the biggest underdog, was the Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals matchup that happened this week. The Arizona Cardinals coming into this week were the number one seed, sitting at 10-3, I believe, and the Lions were coming off a huge loss, and they only won one game in the year. Detroit ended up winning the game 30-12, and it was one of the most ridiculous games if you sat down and watched it. Of course, Detroit led by Jared Goff, who arguably had his best game of the season. And then they also had a huge help from running back Craig Reynolds, who made his first start of the year and had a 120-yard performance. It wasn't just the Detroit offense that really set the tone. Their defense caused a couple turnovers. Kyler Murray threw a pick pretty early. Now, Arizona was without their star wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, for this game, which was a huge loss for them. And amidst all the COVID reports that had happened, there was a couple injuries. But, I mean, Detroit really just took it to Arizona and won the entire game.
Yeah, and this one was definitely a little personal to me because in my fantasy league, I was without DeAndre Swift. And then, of course, I had Kyler Murray starting as my quarterback, only got an abysmal 12 points out of him. And it really kind of proved to me that Kyler Murray needs DeAndre Hopkins in that lineup to be successful, at least for now, because right now the Cardinals are in a dire situation. This was a team coming into the season that was the number one seed in the NFC. Now they're starting to trickle down the standings, and they got another tough game coming up this week. So against the Colts of all teams. So for me, it kind of proved to me that the Cardinals are a team that are kind of falling from grace at this point. They don't really seem like a serious playoff contender to me going forward, gang.
I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of a stretch. Say they're not a serious playoff contender. I mean, I wouldn't say they're serious. They're still a contender. They're still a 10-win team through their first 14 games. But I think this game Sunday that Zach's talking about against the Lions I think it's just a classic example of a team undermining their opponent and not really going in with a strong enough game plan and kind of just expecting to be like a Mickey Mouse easy game. But it just was the complete opposite. I mean, Detroit was pretty much up the entire game. And I know you could say it's a trap game, and every playoff team has at least one or two of those every year. But the Cardinals looked really flat Sunday, and I don't necessarily think that it's going to kind of bring them down this downward trajectory the rest of the season. Now they've lost back-to-back games. They're kind of coming back to earth after the incredible start they've had. They've lost 4 of their last 7 games now at this point. So I think these last few weeks of the regular season, they have a game against the Colts on Christmas in a couple of days. I think that's probably going to be their biggest test of the year, and it's really going to show what they're going to be able to do, come postseason, and how they can stack up against elite teams at home in a tough environment.
And if I could get one more point in, another thing that I thought was a huge factor. So Arizona is one of they've had middling penalty stats throughout the year. They've been a pretty disciplined team. The Lions got, I want to say, 22 first downs in the game, and they got the highest of the week. They got 4 first downs just off penalties, which almost, I want to say, 3 of them happened in the first half when the Lions really started to build their lead. So you got a team like the Cardinals that have been relying, I would say, a lot on skill, like you said, Duffy, from and Chet, from Kyler Murray and from DeAndre Hopkins, and you have a bunch of other playmakers on that team like Christian Kirk, like James Conner, who's had a fantastic year. But when you start to get later into the season and you start really having to work as a team, the discipline that comes from not causing penalties and being smart is really what's going to tear you down. And I mean, let's face it, the Lions are one of the worst teams in the league, and they do go up against the Colts, who have been streaking lately and have been on fire. So it's really going to come into a factor of, can they play solid team football? Can they rely on stars that maybe have not sat the bench but have been in the background, like a Christian Kirk? They have some other star slot receivers like an Andy Isabella. They have Zach Ertz, who just came into the team in the middle of the year, and they're going to have to really rely on them to just play as a complete unit and not just be standing behind a guy like Kyler Murray, who has had a really good season, but you could tell that he has his weaknesses, and they really got exploited in a game like this.
Yeah.
Exploitation is definitely the key word here in this one. Nick Carlson, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree with Zach 100%. I mean, just the way this Cardinals team, the way I kind of look at them, I think they might have peaked a little too early. Coming into the final stretch of the season, teams are, people are really starting to figure out who's going to be a serious playoff contender and who's just a pretender. I wouldn't call them pretenders, but I think they're starting to come on a downslope as of right now. And I think that might be the case because right now they're just a laughing stock. Every NFL meme you see right now, it's just Cardinals memes.
Absolutely.
Well, I could reckon to say that they are a pretender. Just because they're Arizona and they're always fraudulent, kind of like Atlanta.
He did this last year too. This guy hates the Cardinals.
I hated them hella last year because they were a fraudulent team, and it proved to us when they lost their last 2 games and missed the playoffs. That was facts. They were a fraudulent team. This year, though, 7-0, hot, streaky offense, looked really good most of the time. But when it comes to the playoffs and it comes down to being in Raymond James Stadium or being in Lambeau Field or being in Dallas even, I don't see them winning any of those games in the postseason, because at this point they're playing the Colts, playing the Cowboys week 17, and then I think they're playing the maybe Seahawks, either the Seahawks or Niners, but Seahawks, I think it's the Niners actually, and it's not outlandish to say that they could go 0-3 in those games, So this is going to be a big test, and I think we're going to come back to reality and just realize this team is phony. I take back what I said. This team is not a contender. This team is so fraudulent. They're going to lose in the first round. They suck.
Oh my God! Somebody could have tuned in for 5 seconds and heard that. And
they're going to see the LA Rams on Wild Card weekend at home and lose. That's what I think is going to happen.
There is potential there, and I would have to agree with that going forward. But time will tell. We'll see how this team continues down the line, down the rest of this regular season. So, Nick, since you are our second guest on the show, let's hear your take from this week.
Well, the game I chose was the New England Patriots Indianapolis Colts game. The Colts won by 10. The Pats fell just short of a comeback. They started posting, they started showing what they were playing like in this 7 or 6 game win streak that the Patriots were on. And I think they're kind of like, I'm going to put them in the same category as the Cardinals. I think they might have peaked a little too early, and they're kind of on the downswing right now. I would say it would have to do with some growing pains. Mac Jones. I'm going to have to say some growing pains, but I know I think the Colts are probably one of the most underrated teams in the league, and I know we were talking about it before we went live on the air, but I think the Colts are kind of like the money ball team of the NFL. You know, they don't have any big name guy, not too many big name guys, no huge contracts that they're paying out for. I think the way the Colts are running this team right now, I think they're running a strong, efficient, and capable team of they just knocked off the number 1 seed in the AFC. Nobody expected that. The betting odds were 83% in favor of the Patriots.
Vegas did.
Yeah, I guess Vegas did. And Zach here did, being a Colts fan himself. And I'm going to have to agree with you, Nick, in a way, because the Colts, most of their budget a few seasons ago was going all into their quarterback, Andrew Luck. And that really caused some cap issues because this team really couldn't go out and sign any good defensive players. And now you're talking as Frank Reich comes in. He turns this team around, has one of the most solid Super Bowl championship-like defenses out there right now. And even with Carson Wentz under center, he's still playing nice. I mean, I like what I see in the stat line for him for the game, obviously 5 for 12 for 59 yards. They knew they weren't going to give him the ball a lot. But on the season, over at 3,005 passing yards for 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, he's doing enough to keep this team alive, and he's posting some of the best numbers we've seen in his career. So the Colts, they look like a sneaky team come postseason. I'm going to have to agree with that.
And shout out to Jonathan Taylor, just an absolute unit on the field. That's what the prime Christian McCaffrey looked like. Nobody could get this guy down on the ground. The Patriots defense couldn't contain him. He just ran circles.
Hashtag MVP.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, he's posted 16, 17 rushing touchdowns?
17 rushing touchdowns, 19 in total.
We're on the NFL's Instagram page.
He has potential if he can somehow get 5 the next game to beat LT's record. Well, in the next few games.
If I could say something.
15, bro. Beat his record.
There is a couple.
Who invited this guy in here?
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, the boss man himself, Mr. Ron Robert.
This is the advantage of owning the network. I was coming when I want, like a ghost.
Ron's just mad. Ron's just mad that the Patriots lost.
No, wait, I just wanted to say I love you guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
thank you, Ron. Merry Christmas.
If anyone's watching, these are my 4 bitches. And, no, I'm just kidding. No, you guys are the greatest. The Colts can blow me. They suck. And the Arizona Cardinals, they suck too. So they
yes, sir.
They suck.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm just kidding. The Colts are actually legit. So I'll give you, Zach, you get props from me. They're actually legit. Their defense is nasty, and their offense is actually coming on. So, but I heard Carlson said someone was a pretender. Who is the pretender?
I did. I said the Cardinals.
Oh yeah. They blow. Duffy, you like the Cardinals or no?
Nah, they're pretenders.
Oh, he hates
right?
I said it last year too. You know, and I was proved right, and it's going to happen again this year. I just said that they're going to lose wild card weekend to the LA Rams at home.
Hey, wait, hold on. Did you guys talk about the Chargers yet?
No, Duffy, was that yours or?
Nah, mine was Bucs Saints.
That was a game we should have talked. Ron, if you want, would you want to talk about the Chargers real quick?
Yeah, I hate those I hate them, but they're actually good, and I actually think they're going to be sneaky. I actually think so. And I actually think you can't count out the Seahawks at all.
Oh, the Seahawks are done.
That's a hot take.
Seahawks are done.
They're 5-9 now.
I think they're cooked.
Yeah,
they're
5-9.
Toast.
All right, but I'm going to let you guys do your show. I wanted to interrupt because I can, because I'm allowed to, because I don't have a boss. But you guys do, and make sure you get shut-eye and enjoy your Christmas. And then next week, we got a lot of work to do.
Oh, hell yeah. I can't wait to work. Get some
you too,
more
Ron.
work.
Merry Christmas, man.
See you guys
Merry Christmas, Ron. See you later.
Merry Christmas, Ron.
That is company CEO Ron Robert, everyone. A big Merry Christmas from him. And now, Duffy, let's hear, since you're so confident about how terrible these Arizona Cardinals are, we need to hear what your take is right out of the gate.
Like for my game?
Yeah. What's your game, guy?
All right, the game that I chose for this segment, an NFC matchup that we saw Sunday Night Football, really surprising score. Saints going to Tampa and sweeping Tom Brady in the regular season for the second straight year. They win that game 9-0. 3 field goals for the New Orleans Saints in the game. Sloppy game, a lot of defense. Neither team really clicked offensively the entire game. But Tom Brady showed up for the first time in 15 years. Has to be the most surprising outcome from this weekend at home on SNF. The last 2 times the Bucs have played the Saints at home, they've combined for 3 points, which is a crazy stat.
Damn.
So like the Saints, I mean, these regular season Saints are just Tom Brady's kryptonite, and they're really sneaking themselves back into the playoff picture now at 7-7, tied with, I believe, Philadelphia for that 7th seed now, and Minnesota, I believe, also. Now they have Miami Dolphins this week on Monday night. Look out for the New Orleans Saints because they could make the playoffs, and we could see a rematch of the same matchup in Tampa Bay come postseason.
The Saints have a really good secondary, a sneaky secondary. Marshawn Lattimore, still only like 24 years old, one of the best man corners in the game. And then they got Marcus Williams, who is a top 5 zone safety. I want to say he plays free safety for them, but he can drop down in the slot. He's able to cover these slot receivers that you have. I mean, I know Tampa was missing Antonio Brown, but they had Scotty Miller. Tyler Johnson's been having good plays for them, especially with the receivers that went down for Tampa, which I also thought was a huge part in their loss. I mean, I know they didn't look great in the first half, but when you got Godwin, Evans, and then Fournette down as well, we know that Tom Brady's really great at coming back in the fourth quarter, and we know that Brady is smart enough to go to a team like Tampa that has all the weapons. And then we saw what happens when he doesn't have the weapons. Brady fell short. He still looked very good. I thought the offense was moving the ball. They had to play for field positioning, and he threw the one pick that I thought was not a great throw, but it happens. Tampa's going to be back. They had one of their worst games of the year, and the Saints capitalized on it. One thing I wanted to say about what you said, Duffy, 4-0, the Saints are against the Buccaneers in the regular season, and they've done it with 3 different quarterbacks. So you can tell the defense is really what's been holding them, and maybe not. They're not the only reason that the Saints have been beating them, but when you have Sean Payton out and you have an interim head coach come in and your defense shuts out the Buccaneers, like you said, the Saints are a really sneaky team. I think they're going to make the wild card, but don't expect this to happen to Tampa a lot. I think this is going to be their worst game of the season, and they're going to rally back.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to rally back. They are the Bucs. A couple of pick-me-up games in the year. They got the Panthers twice and the New York Jets in between.
Yeah, so some easy games for them to turn around, really, and kind of cement their place in the postseason picture. And, I mean, for the most part, when you look at the injuries they have, Chris Godwin feared that it would be a sprained MCL, ended up being a torn ACL, done for the season. Leonard Fournette likely to miss time going into the postseason, as well as Mike Evans. So now you're calling Scotty Miller up from the bench and then hoping to get, well, it seems like Antonio Brown will be playing this week. So Brady's short. He's short in the receiving core. Still has Rob Gronkowski, but he's going to need a lot going down the stretch without 2 of his stud wide receivers and a stud back.
But he has worked with worse before. We've seen it in New England. There have been years where the wide receiver core was almost next to nothing. I think it was right when they got rid of Welker. Edelman was new on the team. I don't think
Aaron
they had
Dobson
yet, but
Aaron Dobson, Kenbrell Tompkins.
Yep. I remember that.
That was not a
Josh
prideful wide receiver core for the Patriots, but
we beat Drew Brees though.
We did.
Went 12-4 that year.
Yeah, dude. They were still nice even without it. So I'm sure Brady will be able to rally. I mean, the schedule's very favorable for them. We'll probably see them with a 13-4 record come postseason. So this team will be in prime position to make a run for the Super Bowl once again.
Absolutely.
But now to talk about a team that definitely has a strong case for the Super Bowl after a very solidifying win in Baltimore. The Green Bay Packers win the game 31-30. And the story of that game really for me is Tyler Huntley, who comes in for Lamar Jackson, is 28 for 40 on the day. However, throws for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns, posts no interceptions on the day, and on 13 carries for 73 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. This man had himself the game a backup could only dream of. And this team, I am just I want to understand what's going on in John Harbaugh's head when he decides to go for 2 again after failing to complete it against Pittsburgh. What is going through your mind here, man? Like, come on, dude. It didn't work before. Why are you going to try it again? I understand there's 42 seconds on the clock, and you got Aaron Rodgers on the other side who can put you in field goal range, but trust your goddamn defense, for crying out loud. Like, please, go to overtime, win the coin toss, go win the game. These are moments in the season where the team needs to trust the team, not just one portion of the team to do the job, because then you got to rely on the special teams, which 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win the onside kick because it gives more favor to the returning team than the kicking team. So for me, this game could have been something special, but it ended up just being another doozy with the Packers edging out by a point. Thoughts?
I'm not impressed by the Packers. Now, here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Up there with, I would say, I guess biasly, Peyton Manning. They're regular season quarterbacks. Once they get into the playoffs, we've seen Aaron Rodgers have magic when he went to Dallas, when he went to Arizona in the last couple of years. He has his games. But then when his defense is letting up 28 points, 30, almost 31 points in this case against the Ravens, you're going to see chinks in his armor. And Rodgers is going to be able to win you games, but he's also going to have those games that he's just going to lose. So I think that the Packers got lucky here. I think that the Ravens are talented enough that they could have hit the 2-point conversion. And by the way, if the Ravens had hit both the 2-point conversions we talked about against the Packers and the Steelers, they'd be number 1 seed in the AFC. Mm-hmm. I think the Ravens are really talented, even without Lamar Jackson. Shouts to Tyler Huntley. He had a crazy game. But the Packers didn't impress me. I'm sorry. I think that they have a great offense and they have pieces on the defense. But I don't see this team going that far, especially when they got to play Tampa.
Well, I think with the Ravens, I mean, like you said, Zach, they are a very talented team, stacked team all around. And we've seen them. They've been coached great the last couple of weeks with Lamar Jackson either being sidelined or hurt. But in the terms of going for 2 in this case, I actually agree with this call. I know it just happened 2 weeks ago where they lost the game from it, but you know when you're giving Aaron Rodgers 40 seconds and multiple timeouts to get a field goal, I think that was the right call to make in that scenario. I think you go for the win, you try to win the game, try to get some more leverage in your division, and it backfired again. The one against Pittsburgh, though, that one was just a terrible throw by Lamar Jackson. I did not agree with that call, but this call, I think, was the right move. Now the Ravens, looking at 8-6 now, with 3 really tough games ahead of them, in Cincinnati, against the Rams at home, and against the Steelers. I mean, this is a really tough schedule down the stretch, with all 3 of these teams having for something to play for, along with the Ravens as well. So all 3 of these games are going to be, starters in, a lot of physicality, and it's going to really show if the Ravens can make a push in the AFC, because these last 3 weeks, first team in NFL history to lose 3 straight games by a combined 4 or less points.
And a few weeks ago in the mid-season when we did our playoff predictions, this was my Super Bowl prediction right here. So this could be something.
That was a good preview we just got,
Yeah, a preview of that.
Imagine if Lamar Jackson played in that game. They probably win.
Probably. Nick, your thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree. If Lamar's in there, I think they pull away, but we're not living in the what-if land. This is the NFL. It's the next man up mentality. Huntley put on a show for a backup that not a lot of people even knew about for the Ravens. I mean, I literally call him a mini Lamar. He played his heart out on that game. In terms of the 2-point conversions, I'm going to have to agree with Duffy. I do agree with the calls. Rodgers has done it before. We've seen multiple Hail Marys from him at the last second. I think there was just too much time and they had too much leverage with the clock. I think that was the necessary 2-point conversion they had to go for.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts?
I like the Ravens to make the wild card. I know the AFC wild card picture is so congested right now that it's really going to come into tiebreakers. But the Ravens have such a solid team. John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the league, and they do have a tough schedule. I want to say 2 of their next 3 games are on the road as well, and so the deck stacked against him. But if Lamar comes back, which he should be, this team is too talented. And the last thing I want to say is that Mark Andrews is, for my money, the best tight end in the league. I know Kelsey's amazing, but Andrews doesn't have Mahomes throwing him the ball. And he doesn't have Tyreek Hill on the side of him. You know, Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman, they're great wide receivers, but everybody knows that Mark Andrews is the number 1 option, and he continues to get 100 yards and a touchdown every game. That dude is a stud. And I think that Lamar's going to carry him, but Mark Andrews is right there with him. He's the biggest playmaker on that team. I don't think he gets enough credit, even though he is one of the most people know he's one of the most skilled tight ends. I think that Andrews is the best tight end of the game, I would say. Hot take.
I would have to agree with that. He's almost like the silent partner for the Baltimore Ravens that people know the name, but he doesn't get talked about enough, I feel, because ever since he came into the league, this guy's just shown off how talented he is. He's just always there. He's always open. He's always an option for Lamar to throw to, and he exploits it every chance he can. And Marquise Brown in recent weeks is pulling the same Marquise Brown song and dance we see every season, where he goes off in the beginning of the year, is averaging over 100 yards and a touchdown a game. And now we're talking maybe 5 catches a game for max, maybe 50 yards. Last week he had 10 catches for like 50. And, you know, it's kind of disappointing to see, but we'll see what the Ravens do down the stretch. There's still there's still 3 games left here in the regular season. But that concludes our segment for It's Not What It May Seem. So up next, we will be talking about the Patriots, give you a little more in-depth analysis of that game. Zach, I know you have your show at 6:45, so I wasn't sure if you wanted to sign off.
So my show's at 7. I'm not worried about it. Are you guys going to be talking about next week coming up for the Patriots or last week?
We were going to do a little bit of a recap since we already talked a little bit, but then we're going to jump into next week.
I promise you, I'm not trying to be some cocky. I know I am an admitted Colts fan. I'm a bias, but I wanted to give, because I couldn't really give too much of my feedback because Ron interrupted us. What a jerk. On Nick's take with the Colts-Pats game. I was wondering if I could just give like a couple quick takes on that game.
Go for it.
So I thought, and again, I guess I can be biased, but I'm just speaking the truth. I thought the Patriots played one of their worst games of the season. That's nothing to go against them. I just thought that they are a better team than what they showed on Saturday. A couple things. One, the blocked punt turned into a touchdown was huge. If that didn't happen, the Patriots were up after their comeback in the second half. Colts would have had to throw it. As we saw, the Colts couldn't throw it, and the Patriots probably would have won the game. Second of all, the Patriots had a bunch of penalties on defense on third downs that cost them. And I thought that, it's a Belichick team. They're more disciplined. Like I said with the Cardinals earlier, like that shit just can't happen. Mm-hmm. And then Jonathan Taylor's Jonathan Taylor. Like, he's going to break out those runs. It's going to happen. The Colts O-line is one of the best in the league. I think that the Patriots are absolute contenders. And I know Mac Jones is a rookie. I don't believe that a rookie is really going to win you a Super Bowl, but I do think that Mac Jones, in the system he plays in, is talented and accurate and poised enough, more poised than any rookie quarterback we've seen in a long time, besides Justin Herbert maybe. Mm-hmm. I think that the Patriots are going to come back, and they're going to have a really great end to the season. I think this team's going to go far. I hope we see each other again in the playoffs. I really think if this happens in Gillette, when the crowd that was at Lucas Oil, which I was there, the crowd was nuts in that game. I think if that's in the Patriots' favor, and the team's a little bit more disciplined, they play like the Patriots we know are capable of playing, I think the Patriots can get the dub the next time. And that is, as a Colts fan, that's saying a lot. I don't like to say that. I hope you guys can appreciate me saying that. But I think the Patriots are going to have a really good end to the year and a possible playoff run.
I like that take. I think that's a great take right there. Yeah, a solid point of view from a Colts fan, because, I mean, it's very hard when you got all of these New Englanders talking up the team. And sure, I'm on board. I'm all for it. But yeah, I have to agree. This team definitely did not play well, because if you saw those first 3 quarters of the game, absolutely atrocious. They just did not look in sync whatsoever. And then it kind of came down to the fourth quarter, which we know this team's a second half team, but waiting that long to get back in the game is just utterly unacceptable as a Patriots fan and as a football fan in general. You can't wait that long in a game to really start to take advantage of the mistakes the defense is making.
Other than that, Jonathan Taylor for MVP. That's all I got to say.
All right.
It's been awesome being on the podcast, guy. I love your show. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and Merry Christmas to you all.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, Zach. We'll definitely have you back sometime.
Merry Christmas, brother.
All right, so now welcome everyone to Patriots Town, our segment on the New England Patriots. So this week, obviously, we're gonna give you a little bit of thoughts on the Colts game. Obviously, we got a little bit of that out. So Duffy and Nick, you can go ahead and give your thoughts on this past week's game.
Well, Zach said that was one of the worst games the Pats have played all year. That was undoubtedly the worst game New England has played all season. I mean,
even with the Saints game.
Yeah, that was worse than the Saints game, right? Because we went 3 quarters of mistakes, defensive penalties, and just sucking. And it was just an ugly game. You're down 17-0 into the fourth quarter. I think it actually may have been 20-0 at that point. And you come all the way back just to, lose to Jonathan Taylor running over your defense. It was a tough pill to swallow, but the Patriots deserve to lose that game. Played terribly. Mac Jones, he threw a couple killer picks, especially that one in the red zone at the end of the first half of Darius Leonard. Really changed the entire momentum of the game. And it just wasn't good. I mean, never really got the run game going. Probably their worst rushing performance of the entire year. Ran for less than 80 yards on the night against, one of the best run defenses in the entire NFL. But you're not going to beat the Colts doing that. And Carson Wentz and the Colts played a great game. Pass defense for New England was awesome. Still, I mean, Colts only completed 5 passes the entire game, which is a crazy stat. And we thought it was crazy, Mac Jones completing 2 passes and winning a game. But Carson Wentz, in the fashion that he did it, was pretty insane too. So shout out to the Colts. They really creeped their way back in the playoff picture. I think this is, probably, I think in my opinion, a top 4 team in the AFC at this point. And, the NFL playoff landscape would be better with them in it. So, like Zach said, I hope we see this team again in Gillette, because I think it'll be a different story.
Nick.
Yeah, Duffy, I got to agree with you 100%. I mean, in the NFL, it's hard enough to win games in general. Never mind when you throw 2 picks and a special teams touchdown on top of it. That just really kind of stacks it. It makes it that much harder for a team to try and claw their way back in, and especially with a team like the Colts and with, I got to agree, the strongest O-line in the league. When you have a team like that, and then you got Jonathan Taylor slamming the ball down your throat, they're going to be a hard team to beat. I see them in the playoffs. I definitely see them in the playoffs, and they're going to upset some teams.
I think that we almost saw them do it last year with Buffalo, and they're a better team now. They've got a better quarterback. I think Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Rivers was last year. And they have Jonathan Taylor coming into his own this season, to a league of his own, if we're going to be honest. And all last year was, they're one quarterback away from, being a legit Super Bowl contender, this and that. And now that, Carson Wentz, I don't know if he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I mean, technically he is. He's got a ring. But, this team's legit. And if it wasn't for their 0-3 start, since then they've gone, I think, like 8-3 since. I mean, this is one of the hottest teams in the league. Probably the 2 hottest teams in the AFC going into Saturday night were these 2 teams. So the Colts, they're going to be a tough team to go up against. And they're going to become a team that no one is really going to want to see come late December and early January.
So some notable stats from that game. Carson Wentz, 5 for 12 for 57 yards, a touchdown and interception. One of those touchdowns going to Nyheim Hines. Jonathan Taylor, the story of the game for the Colts, 29 carries for 170 yards and a touchdown, a 67-yarder that he took to the house that left the Patriots defense kind of looking lost and confused. And then for the Patriots, Mac Jones having himself one of the smaller performances, one of his larger passing games, 26 completed passes on 45 attempts for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Both touchdowns going to Hunter Henry, who had 6 catches for 77 yards. He is becoming quite a red zone target that we have seen all season long. But now that's going to bring us to those dastardly Bills. Those Bills have been up and down all season long. This team is 4-3 on the road, going up against a New England Patriots team that's 3-4 at home. Last time these two teams faced off, New England took the game with Mac Jones only throwing 3 times. Guys, what are we thinking this week?
I mean, it's definitely going to be a completely different story from the last time the Pats played the Bills, unless the weather in Foxborough on Sunday afternoon is crazy. But this is a team the Pats already beat once. They're going to have a lot of confidence going into this game. Bills 8-6. They're fighting for their playoff lives, and in my opinion, this is probably the biggest game in the entire AFC up to this point all season. Because, like Zach was saying earlier, this AFC playoff picture is so congested. One game separates the number 2 seed, the Patriots, and the number 8 seed, the Baltimore Ravens. So, whoever loses this game could be in serious jeopardy. Their season is going to really be on the line because the Pats, as good as they've been all season, winning 7 in a row, being at 9-5, just because of how good the AFC is this year, they really got to close things out these last 3 weeks. So against the Bills on Sunday, we're going to see a completely different game than the last time the Patriots played them. I'm glad it's in Gillette. But honestly, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if the Patriots lost this game because the NFL is scripted and they like to make divisions really close. No, I'm just playing. But
I was going to say, get out of here. Come on, this is WWE.
Imagine the Bills could really come in the stadium and win on Sunday. We saw it last year, Monday Night Football, an absolute demolition of the Patriots. So they think they can win in Gillette too. But I can't pick against the Pats. Nick. So I'm going to take the Pats 27-17. Same scores last week.
Oh, okay. All right, Nick, your thoughts on this game?
I mean, I definitely think, this was kind of like a wake-up call that the Patriots needed. You could kind of see it over the progression of the win streak. Little more bloopers coming in, passes that Jones should have hit, he didn't hit, and just overall mistakes around the team. I think this was a good wake-up call, like a good punch in the mouth for New England and fans in general, because the second the Pats win 2 games in a row, we're coming back. We're coming back. The dynasty's back. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. As much as I want it to be, it's not the case. Mm-hmm. But I think going into this weekend's game, I think New England still holds the advantage because last time Mac Jones only threw 3 passes. He broke an NFL record dating all the way back to, I believe, 1978. Where only 1 pass was thrown by the quarterback, and they still won the game in the first half. So I think this is – plus Mac Jones, you can tell he's comfortable in New England. He loves Foxborough. I think he's going to put on a show, but I think the Bills are going to keep it close. They really just kind of hit the ground running after that. I forgot who they played after us. I think it was – I want to say it was the Panthers they played.
Against the Bills?
Yeah, the Bills played the Panthers.
They played Tampa and the Carolina.
Yeah, and they lost a close one to the Buccaneers and Tom Brady, but they only lost by 6. And that game went in overtime, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And then they absolutely slapped the Panthers 31-14. And I think Josh Allen, I love him in Buffalo. I think he's an amazing guy in Buffalo, but not a lot of quarterbacks can come into New England and hold their own. Even Tom Brady struggled when he came back week 4. He even struggled. So
very true. It's a
great if you were to pick a final box score for this game, what would it be?
Ooh, I'm gonna say 21-14 in favor of the Pats.
Okay, solid prediction.
Slam the under on this game. The under is hitting.
Yep, and
it is going to hit. It is going to hit, but I'm saying it's going to be a late touchdown. Once again, Jones going to Henry in the end zone for the late touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wow. I like
Thanks
that.
to Henry. I like
As
the
of right
healthy side of
now,
that. It's very moistening.
As of right now, for ESPN's matchup predictor, 51.6% of people predict the Buffalo Bills to take down the New England Patriots. However, Vegas favors the spread at -2.5 in favor of New England. And you look at the stat lines for this year, Josh Allen still hasn't really skipped a beat, 31 touchdowns on the year with 12 interceptions to follow that. Mac Jones, 18 touchdowns, 10 picks. I think what it's going to come down to once again is scoring first. This team needs to score first right away. They need to establish a strong run game, but an even stronger game from Mac Jones if they really want to make this team look confident going down the stretch of things. I really think it's going to come down to him in this one because last week it really proved it came down to Mac Jones. And he delivered as best he could. He got us back within 3. That's what you needed. So this team needs to execute early and start getting some points on the board because right now this Bills D 7th in the league in total offensive yardage and number 1 in defense for yards allowed. So this Patriots team is going to have a lot to look forward to. However, I will be taking the Patriots once again on the sweep here in New England. It's going to be a close one. The final score is going to be 24-21 in overtime. This team will come out on top, winning the coin toss. So that concludes our segment here on Patriots Town. We're going to give you a quick preview for tonight's Thursday night matchup. Tonight's game, the San Francisco 49ers, a hot team trying to establish it. It has a good seed right now in the playoff picture in the NFC, right now sitting at the 6th seed. If they were to play today, they would be going to Dallas to play the Cowboys. However, they are heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans, sitting at 9-5. Titans, this is going to be a tough one for them because if they lose tonight and the Colts take down the Cardinals, Colts will be on top of the AFC South. So, guys, thoughts on this matchup?
I mean, this is going to be, I think, one of the better Thursday night games of the year. A little interconference matchup, 2 teams with very similar records and very similar things at stake. I mean, Tennessee a little bit more because of how, clogged this AFC is with good teams and how the Colts are reaching back up. But, the 49ers too, I mean, they're in a really tight division. They're not out of that division title race. And with Arizona playing Saturday, losing 2 games in a row, and Los Angeles, I think they're only like 2 games behind the Rams, maybe 1 or 2 games behind the Rams. I mean, this division's wide open. So Niners coming on the road. I love their run game. They've played excellently all season or these last couple months. They're starting 2-4. They've won 6 of their last 8 games. I'm going to make it 7 out of 9 tonight. I like the Niners tonight, -3 in Tennessee for my boy Will Reyes.
Nick, your thoughts on the matchup?
I mean, I love what the Titans are doing. They've been putting on a show all year. Obviously when Derrick Henry gets that ball, it's going. But I mean, I think there's just too many weapons on the 49ers. There's too many weapons to worry about. You have to always worry about George Kittle, who I think is probably one of the best tight ends in the game right now. If Zach was here, he'd probably lose it. But I'm gonna have to go with Kittle. I mean, this guy's put up numbers. I mean, he averages, I think it was like 14.8 yards a game, every reception. That's his average, and then I forgot how many touchdowns he has on the year so far.
George Kittle?
Yeah.
5 or something. I think I was looking at stats a few hours ago.
I'll go look. Kittle.
I mean, I double checked earlier, but
that's 6.
Yeah, he's got 6 on the year,
touchdowns.
but he's such a big guy. You're trying to stop him. You're trying to stop him running in the open field. Good luck. This guy is a freak. He's like a little Gronkowski, or a healthy Gronkowski, I should say.
Little Gronk.
I mean, 63 receptions, 853 yards on the year. That for a tight end, that's decent numbers. Everyone thinks of a tight end as a little outlet valve that the quarterback can go to quickly, but Kittle's proving on this 49ers roster that he is one of the primary targets.
Yeah. He is. I mean, he really is their main target. I think he had back-to-back games with like 13 catches a couple weeks ago. And for the Niners, they've been clicking on offense. They're really hitting their peak on offense these last few weeks. They're scoring 30 points in 5 of their last 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
And Titans, their last 4 games, averaging less than 15 points a matchup. So I just think
mm-hmm.
what'd you say,
Sorry.
Chet?
I was going to let you go ahead and finish that.
No, maybe give me an idea what to say.
So I was going to say another weapon that you got to watch out for with San Francisco is none other than Deebo Samuel. Looking at his stats on the year so far,
He's a super good season.
61 receptions on 1,088 yards and 5 touchdowns. This is a man who came into the league as a high draft value pick and scored 3 touchdowns in his first season, has 5 this year through the air. However, averaging 7 on the ground, which is something to talk about. But the big thing to talk about, this is first 1,000-yard receiving year. And, I mean, this is a guy who went through injuries last year, was placed on the COVID list a few times, and he's really stepping his game up. This is a guy that Jimmy G's been looking to a lot this season. And in terms of tailback, this Niners team, what's impressed me a lot with them is their depth. They managed to keep that running back depth there because, I mean, losing Raheem Mostert was huge to start the season, but he's kind of been unavailable these last couple of seasons. And you go to people like Elijah Mitchell, who came out of nowhere this season. Then you got JaMychal Hasty and Jeff Wilson Jr. at the tailback position. This Niners team is pretty set to kind of have fail-safe options. They're a good team. And I'm going to take them tonight, despite A.J. Brown coming off the IR and Julio Jones being healthy in this game. I think the Niners, they just look too hot for me to vote against them. 5-2 on the road. However, Titans are 5-2 at home as well. I'm still going to end up taking the Niners in this one. It's going to be a close game for me. I'm going to say the final score of it to be 27-24.
I mean, this, like you were saying, Chet, that Niners team, probably the best by committee team in the league. I mean, you see the running backs, if they have COVID, if they're injured. I mean, every single running back on that team in that system could go off for an 100-yard game and 2 touchdowns. I mean, we didn't even know who Raheem Mostert was until the NFC Championship when he ran for 4 touchdowns. Actually, I did because my friend's actually his cousin. Fun fact. But I just picked up Jeff Wilson last week in fantasy. Got me 19 points. I mean, this is such a versatile team. They have great coaching with Kyle Shanahan, and they really just they just pound the rocket teams, run up all on their throat, and we've seen the Titans' run defense be very susceptible this year to that. So I'm the Niners. If they can if they can just stick to their game plan, run the ball, like my boy Nick said, find George Kittle a lot this game because I think he's going to go off tonight. They should win this game by more than 3. I know A.J. Brown is back. I'm pretty hyped. Fantasy playoffs is here. He's on my team. I haven't seen my boy in over a month. And hopefully he plays good enough not to win. Because I'm going to put money on the Niners -3.
Oh, shit.
4 units.
Shit. Oh,
-3. Wait, they're really at a -3?
-3.5 right now.
Wow.
My book still's got it 3, baby.
Really? Okay, I'm looking at ESPN, so your book could be different compared to mine.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's going to conclude our Thursday night preview here. So now we're going to move into the final segment of the night, Locks and Upsets Mayhem. So we're going to start off with a team that we're going to lock in that we know absolutely, without a doubt, they are going to win this one. But then for our upset, this is a team that's coming out of nowhere. Shot in the dark, this team will manage to overcome the top dog and be the underdog in this one. So, Nick, since you're a guest tonight, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and I didn't really tell you about this, but if you had a lock this week for any team in the league, which game you taking?
I mean, I got to go with the Chiefs. Chiefs 10-4. They lead the AFC West, and they're taking on a 7-6-1, 7-7 team, which the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I mean, I don't see Big Ben and the Steelers slowing down Kansas City. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he's shown down spurts, started off real slow this year, but I really think he's kind of gotten it together. And when I say gotten it together, he's told his brother to knock it the hell off. I agree with everybody. He should be banned from every NFL stadium. Jackson Mahomes is the biggest piece of luggage Patrick Mahomes ever has.
Some people would say it's his girlfriend, fiance at this point, because even she can be like. Did you guys see that meme this week of her and his brother?
Yes,
that was too funny.
That was interesting.
Which meme was it?
What did it say? Do you remember what it said, Nick?
I'll see if I can send it to you after the show.
Did you see the letter that Kansas City Cafe wrote to Jackson Mahomes?
Yes, and I loved it.
What did they say?
Like,
one of the best quotes on there was, "We survived a global pandemic. We can survive your ego."
I guess he came into this cafe and was like wreaking mayhem because he brought in this huge party.
Oh
They couldn't sit all of them, so he posted about it on TikTok.
Oh, and being all pissed off about it.
Yeah,
like the troll apology the cafe wrote to him went viral. It was hilarious.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, has anybody ever heard of this place? Yeah, don't waste your time. Go in there. Yada yada yada." Someone from the bar who controlled the social media account just went off. Like, good.
You know,
we survived your ego. We can survive a pandemic. We'll survive your ego. There was another one that was so good. It was so funny just to hear it. I got to see if I can find it. It was
awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, find it and send it to us. I definitely would like to put it on the bottom.
I mean, I gotta see. I mean, I really lost it with Jackson Mahomes when he danced on Sean Taylor's memorial thing when they played in Washington. That's really what kind of put me over. That's what kind of put me over the bar.
Yeah, because come on, Sean Taylor, man, talking about a legend here, a legend that left this world too soon, and you dance on that guy's statue. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, I mean,
fuck Jackson Mahomes. Let's go. Let's talk about some sports. I'm done talking about this loser.
Yeah, but to keep it grounded, Nick, as much as I want, I kind of want to
give me a headache, dude. Jackson Mahomes.
Yeah. But so right now, the AFC North is literally every single team at 6 losses. Part of me wants to say, hey, Pittsburgh might have themselves a chance. But right now, we talked about teams that were cold at the start of the season or teams that were hot in the season getting cold now. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to stay hot. I think they're going to be able to take down Pittsburgh in their tough defense. It's going to be a tough game because Kansas City this year has been a little bit of a mystery in terms of getting points on the board. But actually, they might be without Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, both being placed on the COVID list. So this will be a little bit interesting of a game come Sunday. It's going to be a lot closer than most people think. I'm probably going to predict this one to be – I'm going to go Kansas City still, but –
Yeah, I'll take KC. I'll take KC at home too.
I'll think of a score as you talk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking Kansas City, and I mean, for my team that's going to come out of nowhere, I got to give it to the Bengals. Nobody expected the Bengals to go 8-6 this year.
Yeah,
they're first in the AFC North. They're playing the Ravens, so it is a division matchup. Bengals, Ravens, but I don't know. I think the Bengals are gonna kind of fly out of nowhere, smack the Ravens because the Ravens have been beating them down for years, and the Browns as well. But the Browns are the Browns, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But
yeah. All right. So for my lock this week, I am going to take the Houston Texans over the LA Chargers because
why do you own this?
Because Brandon Cooks is gonna go off just as he did. You know what? I'm just gonna stop.
Why you own a Texans beanie, bro?
Hey, it's my brother's. I got a whole bunch of them.
You just have like a bucket of beanies just sitting around.
There's a Bengals one in there, right?
Yeah. There it is. But no, in all seriousness, another Mickey Mouse pick coming from me this week. Currently, we both went 1-1 again last week. So Chet is sitting at 13-13. Duffy did lose a game, but he is still 19-7 on the season, literally running away right now with our locks and upsets. But once again, I have a lot of
football left, though.
I got to take the Chargers. I mean, obviously, I need it for me, but mostly because it's against the Houston Texans. This team just god-awful, terrible. I want nothing to do with them. The only reason they put up 30 points up was because they were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars people. L.A., Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, give it to me. Final score, 34-13.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse pick. But what's new with you? It's like the
Yeah.
6th week in a row. So
Exactly. I need it. All right, Duffy, your lock.
all right, my lock of the week for week 16. I'm not gonna do anything Mickey because I'm a bigger man than Chet is currently. But I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to say lock of the week. And I know this is kind of controversial, but I'm gonna take the Cincinnati Bengals at home against the Baltimore Ravens -3. They're gonna sweep the Ravens for the first time since I don't even know when. Don't even remember the last time this happened. But Ravens are gonna get handed their 4th straight L this Sunday, and their playoff hopes are gonna look dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. This is a rematch of that week, I think 6 or 7 matchup where the Bengals won 48-17. I think it was crazy blowout game. Really took everyone by surprise. I think they're gonna win this game too. Especially with Lamar Jackson's health being uncertain. No one really knows if he's gonna play or not come Sunday quite yet. Might be Tyler Huntley again to get the nod. We actually looked it up real quick. Is Lamar Jackson going to play? Lamar Jackson, he missed practice today, so I like Tyler Huntley a lot. Currently, I think 1-1 as a starter this year. Came in the game against the Browns too. Looked solid, but I think this Bengals defense, their front seven's really good, and they're going to take this game and take a full game lead over the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC North.
The last time the Bengals actually swept the Ravens, I just looked it up while you were talking.
I take a guess.
Yeah, take a guess.
Was it in the 2010s? Like, was it in the decade?
Yes.
Was it 2015?
Yes.
All right.
2015, because that's when
that's when the Ravens sucked. Like Joe Flacco tore his ACL.
Yeah, and
that was when because that was the year Flacco went down. They faced the Ravens, I think, week 3. They lost with Flacco, and then they played him again. I want to say maybe week 12, maybe 13.
That was the year Andy Dalton got hurt too and missed the playoff game, and AJ McCarron got the start, and Antonio Brown got hit in the head. It hasn't been the same since.
The good old Red Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Also, I'm going to say you can't see it in the background, but it's Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I saw that too. I saw that. There was actually a whole video that was out about it. I think, when did I see it? I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And I saw that video. Someone made a whole video about it. I was like, no way. And then, of course, sure enough, they zoom in and it, sure enough.
Well, Duffy, this is a good segue into my picks for this week, because obviously I love the Bengals. I really do. I love the Bengals, but my upset this week is going to say goodbye to these Bengals, because I'm taking these Baltimore Ravens, because you know what? Lamar Jackson, his status doesn't look too good. If he does play, hey, good for him. He'll put on a show. He'll put up some numbers. But Tyler Huntley really proved to us last week, when it comes to prime time, he can step up and make that difference. He is probably one of the most solid backups that we're seeing in this league so far. And if you saw him when he took off out of that pocket, nobody on that Packers front seven could catch him. I think there's a huge chance we'll see this be a shootout type game. Joe Burrow is going to be all in, and that whole Bengals offense ready to go. But the Ravens are going to show up, because they know, and they do this every single season. They did it with the Browns last year. They're going to do it again this year with the Bengals. They're going to come in and they're going to win this game in Cincinnati and take another step forward to securing the AFC North. I'm predicting a final score in this one to be 30-28 Ravens.
I think this is the first time we've ever fade one another on a lock and upset, So that means we got to put a unit on this right now.
It's units. This time we're going 15. We're going 15 on this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's be a bigger unit.
Wait, so you called what, 31-28 for the score?
30-28.
30-28.
This would be a very Ravens-like game to win on the road against the lowly Bengals in Cincy. Justin Tucker, 60-yard to win the game. It could happen.
It could.
I'm excited for this game.
And that gives me
a good 15 USD on it.
And this gives me a good segue into Chet's Oscar. Tonight's Chet's Oscar award is going to go to Tyler Huntley for last week's loss and missing the 2-point conversion that could have sent the Ravens on a victory. But this week, they're going to battle for it. And you know what? You deserve the Oscar this week, buddy, because you're going to get the W.
Why are you bullying my boy Tyler like that?
Hey, I'm fueling the fire because they're going to win this
tough
week.
Love.
Okay.
Tough love.
I
like it.
I don't know. I mean, going for 2 in the Ravens, they really have not had that this year. If you would so-called remember Ravens Steelers, Mark Andrews just out of the fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you said so cold, remembered it was like whatever it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I only say that because one of my best friends at my college, diehard Ravens fan, grew up like 20 minutes away from the stadium, and we were all sitting in the dorm room, diehard Patriots fans. My neighbor next door, who was over, diehard Steelers fan, Steelers Ravens, watching them going at it all night. Absolutely hilarious. And then just to watch Mark Andrews just muff the catch.
Yeah.
Because that's a catch we've seen him make before.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was just one of those passes that was just, I don't know. It could have been a lot better, I guess, in that way.
I mean, I knew Lamar was targeting back shoulder, but to throw it at a full arm's length back shoulder.
Yeah, that's even more difficult.
Yeah.
So,
Really cool.
Nick, we'll let you go ahead and tell us your upset for this week if you got one.
I already said my upset. That was going to be the Bengals. I have the Bengals beating the Ravens.
And Duffy, is that going to be your upset too this week, or
What? Dude, that was my
that was your block?
They're favored, so
Yeah.
But my real upset, dude, and I was hoping no one would say this because I do really like this pick. And we talked about it earlier. The Indianapolis Colts +1 on Christmas Day against the
I was tempted to pick
Cardinals. No, the 1 point upset picks are always a little bit Mickey, admittedly, because they're barely even underdogs. But like the Colts in this game, like the way they've been playing football, I know it's tough to see the Cardinals losing 3 games in a row, 2 of which being at home, but I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see a victory from Indianapolis on Christmas Day, and I don't know why really, but it's kind of a feeling right now.
He's got the feeling, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
Hella motivated after they won the other day.
I got a feeling.
You get those Christmas miracles for Duffy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What? You got an issue?
It's like something leaking in my house, dude.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, so so that does it for locks and picks. And something to look at real quick is the playoff picture. All teams battling to get into the playoff race. As of right now in the AFC, the Chiefs, number 1, Pats 2, Titans 3, Bengals 4, Colts 5, Chargers 6, and the Bills 7. Ravens and Steelers and Raiders right now, the top teams to try and take a playoff spot in the wild card round. And then for the NFC, Packers in 1, Cowboys 2, Buccaneers 3, Cardinals 4, Rams 5, Niners 6, and then the Vikings as the 7th seed, a very surprising spot right there. And then for 8, 9, and 10, you got the Eagles, Saints, and football team all right behind there. We'll be sure to keep up to date with the playoffs come next week. We're going to have a lot of talk going on there. So thank you all for tuning in once again to Fans Only Sports Network's show, Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. And we would like to also thank Nick Carlson from the company for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure having you, and we would look forward to having you on the show once again.
Thank you. I mean, it just happened to work out today. I just called a whole hockey series. I called 3 games with Chris Carbone and Jake Roberts.
Yeah. Big shout out to those guys, members of the company as well. So thank you again, Nick, for coming in with your busy schedule. And final remarks, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. We will see you all next week around Wednesday, Thursday, 6 p.m., same time as usual. A lot of great games to come this weekend. The playoff picture narrows and the plot thickens as the season goes on. But we will catch you all next time. This is Chet and Duffy signing off from Unapologetic, and we'll catch you all next week. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And, of course, the number one thing, Go Pats, baby.
Merry
Go
Christmas.
Pats.
Thank you, Nick, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Merry Christmas to you guys. If I don't see you.
Go Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
Yikes.
All right. And we will see you all next week.
Go Pats.